All right, ladies and gentlemen, great show today from the writing, producing, television sector of our crazy fucked up business. What an honor. Please welcome my guest today, Perry Rein.
Thank you, Barry. It's great to be here. I can't believe I'm here. This is fantastic.
I can't believe I'm here either.
What a gift. My birthday was yesterday, and I think this is like a gift for me. So,
do you do a lot of podcasts ever?
I've done, it's funny. I've done one with my writing partner. We did one called
Gigi.
Yes, we did one for Wizards of Waverly Place. It's all about that.
Of course, we're going to talk a lot about that. Ordinarily, I do these shows, and I have like a format, and I have a system to it. But I thought, since a lot of times writers don't come on these shows as regularly, and they don't get as much cred in the podcasting world, but you're somebody who I knew from the early days of my career when I was a producer on Welcome to New York with Jim Gaffigan, which was a first half-hour sitcom produced by Letterman's company, and just to do something with David Letterman, and it was an incredible thing, and of course Christine Baranski was incredible, and just great writers on the show, and that's, I believe, where I first met you. And so I think what I'd like to do, which is kind of odd for me, normally I go into all these different directions and things, but I want to take the real time to talk about what it's like to be a writer and how you go from zero, nothing, not any job in the business, to your first job. So, and I'm not saying Welcome to New York was your first job, but I just want to know, like, for our audience, take us through maybe 48 hours before you had a thought that I'm going to write or do something on a television show, to how you made it happen. Now, I know you technically worked in the film business in a very unique way to start.
Yes. Well, yeah, it was, I moved out to Los Angeles from Winnetka, Illinois, Evanston, Illinois, and I wanted to write for TV. How do you do that? And that's the big question. I did not have good connections. And my dad told me, he said, interesting people do interesting things. So I was open to trying different jobs. It's funny, when you come out of college, you have like your friends are like, they've lined up jobs on their way out of college, And here I was just going out to LA with nothing planned. So I was just looking for interesting things to do. I sent letters to producers on sitcoms because I love sitcom. I loved the sitcom. I loved, growing up.
So you sent the physical letters.
I've sent like just cold calling letters, saying, hey, would you read a spec script of a Married with Children that I wrote?
And for the audience who doesn't know, a spec script for Married with Children is, all the characters as a young writer, their idiosyncrasies, you've seen all the episodes, and you want to write one that you hope is as good, if not better, than all the other ones, and they can see that you can write for those voices.
Exactly right. So yeah, you're showing that you can actually just really mimic. And things have changed since then. It's been more of a original material kind of world. People want to see what your voice is rather than can you do a Married with Children script. So of course, yeah. The funny thing is, I got a job offered to clean a horse poop out of Rustic Canyon in Santa Monica, and I guess my dad was like, "That's not what I'm talking about with interesting things. You can't do that." But I did get a job. A friend of mine from college, he heard about a position driving Al Pacino, and he was not interested in this. It was 2 days a week. I was going to be the relief driver for Al Pacino. I couldn't believe it. So,
what year is this?
This is this must be 1990.
So this is Scent of a Woman time.
Yeah, this is exactly. He just finished Scent of a Woman, and now he was doing Frankie and Johnny with Gary Marshall directing. So
And Gary Marshall, for those of you who don't know, probably one of my most memorable interviews I ever did. I was able to interview him for the last interview he ever had. He passed away like a month later, and
that was a great interview. Yeah, I loved that interview.
You watched the interview?
Of course, yes. Yeah, Gary went to Northwestern where I went, so I loved Gary, followed Gary's, everything he did, loved Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, all of his stuff. Grew up on that.
What was interesting about that, and for the audience, I hope you wouldn't mind me saying this. I remember I had breakfast with Peter Engel right before I was going to interview Gary Marshall, both the same age. And Peter Engel had created Saturday morning television with Saved by the Bell, and he had like 6 shows going at the same time. He had like a grandfather deal at NBC where he probably made more money than the network did on the shows. And I'm sitting down with him, and I remember I said, "How you feeling? You ready to do something together?" Because we did Last Comic Standing together for many, many years. And he said, "I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do any more. I want to relax. I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to deal with the stress anymore of whatever." And then I respected that. And then I got in with Gary Marshall, and he's like the same age. He's like, "I gotta keep going. I got to keep going. Yeah. I can't stop."
I'm going to fast forward off of Al Pacino for a second, because I actually got to work with Gary Marshall. It was 2014. I did a show. It was a Scott Baio show for Nickelodeon. And Scott brought Gary in to do a guest part. And Gary, Gary's game, like you're saying, he wants to keep going. And he came in, and then Scott came in. Then Scott came in. Scott directed a couple episodes. Gary's son. And I got to say, one of the highlights of my career is when we heard that Gary was going to take a break for lunch, and he was going to join us in the writer's room and talk about the business, talk about his life. So we had a writer's room with Gary Marshall this one day. It was just like, you got to be kidding me.
What's the greatest thing he said that you take with you to this day in that meeting?
I think what's amazing about him is how he remembers everybody. I mean, kind of like he gave like a tip, like, remember people in your life. Remember people. Don't forget the little people, kind of thing. That kind of was. I mean, it's a little thing, but I think it was really smart. Kind of. So he like pays attention. He just pays attention to everyone. It doesn't have. He's not just to the star, but to the star's sister. It makes everyone feel included and important and special. So I think that's something that he exuded, that kind of energy and that kind of passion and love for everybody.
I love that, because the last movie I did last year, I remember first day on set, I went up to, I think it was Michael Madsen. I said, "Can I get you some coffee?" He said, "You getting me coffee? You're producing this film." I said, "Hey, listen, man, I want to, no one's more important than the other, and I just want to do whatever it takes to make things run smooth."
Yeah, I remember in one of Gary's books, he talks about that, how you want to do the thing that no one else wants to do, especially in the writer's room. You want to do.
But you didn't clean the toilets.
You
didn't clean the poop off the horse poop. So clearly you're not one of those people who wants to do everything.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not quite everything, right? But yeah, I mean, that was a great point, that you just need, if you need to do a cold open. Back, when cold opens were big in sitcoms, people would just, "Oh, really? We've got to do a standalone cold open." No one would want to do it. Volunteer for it. Do it. You will be beloved.
Interesting. I never knew that about the cold open. How come the cold open people feel that way about, but not the tag?
Yeah, that was right. Well, yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
the tag being show would end, there'd be a commercial, and then to come back, and the credits would be over the tag.
And it'd be kind of like one funny joke at the end, right? To go out on. And the cold open was kind of an independent scene that maybe doesn't even start the story. And I think that, the cold open mostly went away because it was like that pressure to like, let's get into the show. Let's jump in.
So your friend doesn't want to drive Pacino for some reason, but it's 2 days a week. How much does it pay? Do you remember?
Okay. Yes, it was $250 a day.
$250 a day.
Yeah. So $500 a week. I was like, I can live on that. No problem. I was like, that was a dream of mine, to make $500 a week. was like, this is fantastic. I've arrived.
Cash?
No, it wasn't cash. I did have to pay taxes. Good point.
All right. So you apply to the job. Who do you interview with?
So here, okay, great. Okay, so I showed up at this weird bungalow near here, actually in Hollywood. Showed up cold, just walked in cold. And I said, hi, I'm here for the driving job for Al Pacino. And they're like, who are you? I'm like, I know Josh. I'm like, who's Josh? That's my friend. They're like, yeah, we're done interviewing for Al Pacino. We've done, it's closed. We've closed it down, but please leave. And so I turned around to leave, and suddenly the one assistant says, oh, wait a minute. Something just opened up at 1 o'clock. An interview opened up, and it's over on Hollywood Boulevard. It was this dank apartment with Al's other driver, his main driver, named Marlon. And it was like dingy, just how you'd imagine it, dingy, kind of scary apartment building on Hollywood. Marlon is probably maybe early 30s.
Got it.
Yeah, early 30s. And, he was like, why do you want this job? What? It's hell. It's a long hours. You're not going to like it. You got to get up before Al. You got to go to bed after Al. He has a long day. I'm like, I'm up for it. I can do it. I'd love to do it. And I got home, got the call.
What do you think it was that you said to Marlon that got you the gig, and all the people that interviewed didn't get the gig? You had no experience.
Yeah.
You'd never been a driver. You'd never worked with a celebrity.
Yeah.
What do you think happened in that meeting that got you the gig?
I tried to play it cool, like I'm not, starstruck by Al Pacino. I don't know. This is my angle. My strategy was just be cool. Like it doesn't blow you. You're not like, oh my God, I have to. I can't wait to get this job and get Al's autograph. I was just trying to be professional, and I think I might have dropped Gary's name. Familiar with Gary Marshall. So I don't know. I ended up getting this job.
All right. So you get the call, you get the job.
And
now tell me, from getting the job, what advice does Marlon give you, and what's your first meeting with Al, and what happens?
So I was told that basically Al, he lives at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel.
He lives at the hotel?
Like on the penthouse floor. He didn't own a home at the time. He rented.
So he rents a penthouse at the Wilshire
in Beverly Hills, and then I need to take him from there to Raleigh Studios and Paramount. That's where they're shooting Frankie and Johnny. So basically, I had 2 weeks to just practice that route, just get that route down perfectly. And I took like 6th Ave was like the perfect route, because it was like, I just need to nail this. I can't get lost.
6th Ave is like the poor man's fountain.
Yeah, poor man's fountain.
Fountain Avenue it's a quicker route.
That's another good one. I use that one a lot. But there's no pulling over and looking at your Thomas guide with Al next to you. So I had to.
For those of you who don't know, the Thomas guide was what you had before you you had your phone. You had this thing that folded open the size of Rhode Island, and you were looking through things.
So I pulled up. So basically, I pulled up, picked up Al at the hotel. He gets in. He goes, "Hey, Marlon, good morning." And I'm like, "Oh, hi, I'm Perry. I'm the new guy," and I drove him perfectly all the way to Paramount, pulled on. Everything was great in a Grand Cherokee, like a 1989 Grand Cherokee, big car, safe.
So he's the biggest star in the world, and he owns a Grand Cherokee.
Renting it, yeah.
Renting the Grand.
Renting it, yeah.
Okay, so you get him there perfectly.
And then I'm wondering, are
you just waiting for 8 hours, or what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure this out. So I see craft service, so I know I need to go there, and I see the assistant who said, "Hey, wait a minute, there's an appointment available at 1 o'clock." And I said, "I got to ask you." I said, "Thank you, first of all. Thank you so much. I can't believe I'm here. I got this job." And I said, "What happened? Why did I suddenly get an appointment with Marlon?" And she goes, "Well, when," she kind of laughed. She goes, "When you turned around, you were wearing these tight khakis, and we thought we'd give you a shot." So,
in other words, she liked your ass.
Yes. So I was like, "Wow, this is how the business
now
works."
I know why I never get those driving jobs, because I have a back with a line in it. So that's the problem.
So this is a great tip. It's important to dress
tip is to
appropriately,
to stuff your khakis.
I guess so.
So did you ask her out after that?
No, there was no.
Why not? She's telling you that she likes.
I had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend going into this.
Well, we know in Hollywood that stops everybody from doing things. Anyway, so keep going.
Yeah. So it was a great a great experience working for Al. He would sit in the front seat with me, and he'd be, either like running his lines on the way in. We had a cell phone, which was a kind of a new thing to have a cell phone in the car.
The one the size of like Wall Street, the one like this.
Yeah, it was a brick of a phone. And so he would, ask me about my life. And he liked to talk about relationships and talk about, he'd like to talk about my girlfriend and my relationship and what I was going through.
What this is fascinating, even though this is. So let's say you had a problem in your relationship. Like if you remember one problem you had, what was his advice to that problem? What was your problem with it?
I think I might have been one where there was pressure to move in together with my girlfriend. And I was not ready for it. I was not ready. I was hesitant. I was talking to Al about that. And I believe he was saying, Perry, be very careful. Be very careful here. Don't get her pregnant. Don't get her pregnant. So I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, that's good. I'll keep that one in mind.
At the time, What was his relationship like with somebody? Was he married? Did he have a relationship?
Yes, he was with a journalist she was a director from Australia, Lyndall Hobbs. And so, he was in a long-term relationship with Lyndall. And what I admired about him was that he was very independent. Like he had a very full life and he could do a lot of things away from not all based on the relationship, And I think that was healthy.
What did you learn from Al that helped you in your entertainment career to get that first job as a writer?
Okay, yeah. So I think this is kind of a not exactly answering your question, but this is what really helped. So getting that first job, I talked to Gigi and I, my writing partner, who I've been with for 30 plus years.
So when you were driving with Pacino, was she a writing partner then, or how did you meet her?
Kind of in the middle of this. So right after I was done with, I was still working for Al, his assistant at the time, her name was Annette, and she was an associate producer normally on sitcoms. So she said, Perry, when I'm done with Frankie and Johnny, this production, I'm going to go back to a sitcom and I'll hire you as a PA. So she did.
And for those who don't know, PA is like a personal assistant, or they normally the lowest ranking person on a set. They're expected to do every single shittiest job you can imagine, from printing scripts to getting coffee to cleaning the bathroom if something happens.
Yeah, and it's an incredibly hard job to get. It's really tough to even get this low level gig.
Because the thing is, for those of you who, this is important. Mm-hmm. The first podcast I ever did in my life 11 years ago was with Doug Herzog, who was the president of Viacom Entertainment, which had Comedy Central and Spike and TV Land. And his words of advice, the first words of advice on any podcast I ever did, was find your affiliation. Just find a place, get in and do anything you possibly can. Just get your fucking foot in the door and then be great once you get there, and then the world will open up for you.
I love that. Yeah, that is so true. So I was a great PA. I was the happiest guy at Paramount Studios. I was like, I can't believe I'm here at this great, this iconic place. And actually, this show was the Royal Family with Red Fox. So
wow. So hang on. So for those you don't know, and tell me if I'm wrong, this was with Della Reese.
Yes.
So the Royal Family was this heavily hyped, incredible. I remember how much hype was around the show, and then Red Fox passed away.
Yeah, he actually it passed away at work during a run through. It was actually during a run through, and he collapsed on set. And at first, people thought Red was doing a bit.
Because in Sanford and Son, he always used to do this bit, "I'm coming for you, honey." Where he was pretending he had a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then quickly realized, no, he's not, and he had a heart attack. So that was actually the show. It was a hit show. It was.
How many episodes into that?
We were maybe 8 or 9 episodes. and it was a hit show for CBS. And CBS wanted to decided to try to keep the show going,
which never works.
Yeah, so they tried to rework it, figure out how to keep the show in production. But it was dark for a while. It was dark for several weeks, and I met my writing partner during this time. She was a writer's assistant on the Royal Family, and
which is the next hardest job to get.
Yeah, and it's a great job to get. That's the one you really want to get, because
and you're in the writer's room and you're essentially, taking what everybody says and jotting it down and then putting it into a format to where you can give it to the writers of what was said in the meeting.
Exactly. So it's an incredible. It's like you're getting paid to be trained. You're in the middle of it. You're in the middle of how a sitcom works, and so a PA, you're not in it. I mean, you're more of a runner and gopher. You're not in the writer's room like Gigi was. But Gigi and I, we wrote a spec script during this time together. And it was a Mad About You. And I submitted it to several agents. And one agent came back to me and goes, Perry, it's a good script. It's a really good script, but I've got a lot of good scripts. What makes you better than everyone else? How do you stand out? How do you market yourself? What makes you different? And I was like, thank you. I really appreciate that, because no one had said. All the other agents were like, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. It's not right for us now, or whatever it was. Kind of like an excuse that you really don't know where it's coming from. If it's true, this felt like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. As an agent, you need to take us, and you're not going to be able to do anything for us if you can't go say something special. Why does someone want to meet with us?
I was just saying in an Ask Me Anything podcast episode that I did, people always say, like, what kind of stand-up comedy or what kind of writing do I, what is it that's gonna get me where I want to go? And I always like to say, like, think of yourself as a tourist attraction. It's like, do you remember how you felt when you first saw the Grand Canyon? It's like, you never forgot it. You never forgot how you felt. You never forgot what you saw. You never forgot how people reacted around you, or whatever. The Eiffel Tower, Niagara Falls, Iguazu, whatever. It's like the pyramids. Concentrate on making your work something that people look at and they're like, holy shit. I'll never forget that first spec script I got from Perry Rein and Gigi.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what you want. That's the reaction you want. You want, for sure.
Anyway, keep going.
So what happened was Gigi and I ended up submitting that Mad About You, and we got into the Warner Brothers Comedy Workshop, which is a good thing, because it's making you, the workshop has picked you out of like 700 submissions, and they're for 15 spots in this. It's like an 8-week program. And it was really great, because they would, after this 8 weeks and you basically write another script, when you'd have like industry, producers and writers coming in who were experienced, successful, and they would talk to you about a different subject every week. And so it was this amazing thing that we got into.
Now, one of the things I want to ask you, because I think this is important, because I think all men and women go through this.
Yeah.
It never ends. So Gigi McCreery, you're writing with her. You're on the set with presumably a smart, funny, attractive woman, and you're a smart, funny, attractive man, and you're working together, and most men, most women understand exactly where they are in a situation. They know it. Chris Rock would say in Top 5, I think he said, that thing in the back of their mind, this little tiny thing, it's this big, but it could be, there's a chance I could this guy. But guys, it's hard to understand the friend zone or the work zone from there's a chance here that something might happen. How did you, in the beginning, get over that when you're working, and especially during that time when everybody was basically sleeping with everybody?
Right. You know what? I think I was too short for her. Gigi's beautiful, beautiful woman. She's, 5'11", and I think it just didn't seem like the right pairing. But also, I think that we both were like, the bigger thing, the better thing was, can we have a career together?
So there was
then have love together.
So there's never. You guys have known each other for 30 years, and you've talked about everything. So you trying to tell me, just bear with me, that not 1 minute of those 30 years there wasn't a thought in her mind or a thought in your mind like, we'd make a great couple.
I got to tell you, there never was. Although looking back on it, and I think about this pretty often, if we had gotten together, we would have done very well. We'd have one house, one household, one set of kids, one spouse. Instead of what we did was we split up, and we, basically doubled our. Now we have all kinds of cars. We have, separate, all these separate. But it would have been a very efficient thing. Very efficient thing.
Well,
if we were able to make that work.
The thing about writers' teams, why productions want to hire writers' teams, is because something you guys should know, if you don't know already. Sadly, they get paid the same amount as a single writer. So they essentially are partnering up on something, and when they separate, they're making half the money of another writer. And the production loves having comedy teams because they get two minds for the price of one. I'm surprised no strike has ever stopped that process and said, hey, we're getting paid double.
Well, we actually got a great win in this last strike for writers' teams that no one really knows about, but it has to do with the pension and health. Now, for the first time, when you earn, so like Gigi and I, we earn money together that we split, but that full, let's say episodic fee now goes to pension and health before it's split for each of us. So you make the minimum really fast. You get your, pension qualifications quickly. And so it was a big bonus. So it's a plus for wanting to be in a writing team. It's a real plus. Cause that was a strike that a strike against was like, wow, we each have to make, $30,000 each. Whereas an individual writer just has to make $30,000 each, but we have to split it before we make 30, before we make that threshold.
So you're you're on your first show with her. Yeah. The star dies.
Yeah. So and okay. So Gigi is smart. She bailed ship, and she got a job on another show. I stuck around, because I barely got my foot in the door, and I wanted to stay as long as I could. I actually got fired. Funny to say, I got fired on my birthday. I got a phone call on December 18th that I was being cut because one of the supervising producers wanted to hire his nephew. It's like so cliche, and I was the last hired PA, so that was tough. So I was out. But I was out of the sitcom world. But the beautiful thing is that Gigi and I, out of that workshop, we got a staffed writing job. We got placed on Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Mark Curry, Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Love Mark Curry. And so we landed on our feet. It was incredible. And we're on staff, and we're there for about a month, maybe 2 months. I'm like, Gigi, you know what? This is fantastic. We're on the show. Should we try to get an agent now? Now that we're on a TV show? And like, yeah, we should. So who should we call? Who should we, out of the agents we met, who should we call? And I was like, you know what? I think we should call Jeff Jacobs at CAA, because he was the guy who said, how do you market yourself, Perry? How do you stand out?
That was the guy.
Yeah.
So Jeff Jacobs, one of the most incredible television packaging agents in the world. Incredible agent.
Yeah. So I called him up and I said, Jeff, hey, little update. Just want to let you know we're on staff on Hanging with Mr. Cooper, TGIF, ABC. And he was like, let's have lunch. So it was great. So now Jeff, we met at Jerry's Deli. All three of us, it was great. We signed on with Jeff. We were with him for 18 years, actually. And he got us meetings. And you know what he was doing, how he got us meetings to make us stand out. For the workshop was great, But he would tell people, "Hey, I got Gigi and Perry. Perry was a former driver for Al Pacino, and you can hear some Al Pacino stories if you go meet with him. And also, believe it or not, Gigi was Harrison Ford's kid's nanny, so she did that odd job as well. So we had this funny thing. So you can hear about Harrison Ford and Al Pacino, and I got to say, it worked. We got plenty of meetings. He was able to get us in the door.
Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too. What's the first job that he cracked open the door and you guys kicked it in?
After hanging with Mr. Cooper, we did a number of mid-season shows. And these mid-season shows are ones that they're not ready. They're not going to be on the fall schedule. They're going to be the backups that they'll slot in afterwards. So if need be. So we landed these kind of 13 episode shows, like these funny little odd shows that were like The Last Frontier, which is kind of like Friends set in Alaska. That's what that was, because Friends had just started. Friends had just hit the air. And then there was Ask Harriet, which was about a guy who dressed up as a woman in order to get his job back at a newspaper, and that was Willie Garson in there and Ed Asner, and so great casts. These great casts that we got to, but they didn't make it. It was really hard to get a show to go, and so we actually ended up. The big break was meeting on with Bright Kaufman Crane, and they liked our Mad About You script. They liked that script, that first script we wrote, and so we had a couple of meetings that they do quite a bit of vetting, and it was we were clicking, and we actually they told our agent Jeff, they said we want Gigi and Perry either for Veronica's Closet or Friends, and we had like a month to wait, and they said no, it's going to be Friends, and so it was unbelievable. So we went from PA fired on his birthday to writer on Friends. So that was quite the door to break in. It was incredible.
I always say fate, tragedy, and adversity are your best friends. Yeah. And you guys wrote some of the most amazing Friends episodes. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, we were there for a really good time. We were there for seasons 5 and 6, which was the Chandler, Monica relationship, hiding the relationship. So it was really fun. It was a really fun time. And we really.
But I mean, you guys did the famous pivot episode. You did the I think the Ross leather pants episode. You did the was it when the Porsche Joey pretended to,
Joey's Porsche.
I mean, these are all like incredible things, and you won the hardware.
Oh, the hardware. Yeah, hardware actually came later for Wizards of Waverly Place.
That's right.
That one came later. I mean, Friends was amazing, to be honest. It was like, that's where you learn how to break these stories, because they are.
Why don't you tell our audience how on a sitcom you break a story?
Yeah, so it's the hard work. It's the hard work. You're starting from scratch, or you're really probably starting from, let's talk about the arc of the season. So you kind of go broad, really broad, and then start to hone in.
So the first meetings with the writing staff, you're talking about, because it's going to go 24 episodes or 25 episodes or 26 or 27. Because back then they were gearing towards 100 episodes. So the first year, if I'm not mistaken, you can tell me if I'm wrong, was 22 episodes. The second year, 25, and then the fourth, 27. And that would get you to your 100 episodes.
Exactly.
And the 100 episodes was important for syndication back then. Now nobody gives a shit. But,
right, exactly.
But the point is, so you're breaking story. The first thing is the umbrella of what the whole season is going to be. So, in other words, this season is going to be about them hiding their relationship.
Yeah, so that particular season was an interesting one because, I think initially we thought this is not going to last that long. This secret is not going to. We can't. How long can we draw this out? A couple episodes, 3 episodes, and we ended up realizing as we got in production, changing that on the fly, and going, oh my God, this is great. This is gold. We're loving this, and we can see how it can generate all kinds of episodes that we can stretch it out, expand it, because it was just so rich. So it's funny how you start in the beginning of the season, and you're really you're even running these by the network, going, you have to show them, like, you have to give them confidence that you have a plan, you know where you're going.
And so you got that general storyline, and let's say a lot of times what happens, I don't know if they did this with you, but the showrunners will assign weeks to certain writers. So in other words, Gigi and Perry might have, okay, you're in charge of the 4th and the 13th episode to do. And so the 4th, you're breaking the story, but you guys don't break the story. You're in a room with people, and you're talking about what you think the story should be. So yeah,
it starts off extremely collaborative. You're working with the whole team, the whole writing staff, and the showrunners are, they have the vision, right? They have the vision. What's speaking to them? What feels the best route, the best path, the funniest for our characters, the funniest for where we want to go for the season. So that is shaped in a rough way, and it gets to a certain point where it gets honed down enough where, okay, now we can assign this. We can assign this episode to a writer or a writing team, and then they take it. It's kind of like their baby, and they can take it off, and they leave the writer's room, and they can go for a few days, and they'll go to the next step, and they'll do an outline, and they'll fill it in, and they'll bring it back to the writer's room, get more feedback. So you get this kind of creative world that you want to make sure you're staying on track. But the great thing about it too is that you can get individual writers real kind of perspective and their own vision as well. So you can really put your fingerprint as a writer on an episode. So it's very satisfying that way. And then you bring it back. Then you'll have maybe 5, 6, 7 days to write an episode, and once again bring it back for feedback. And you'll get notes, and you might get a chance to do a second draft. If you're under a lot of pressure, the deadline, the table read is coming up quickly, it might go back to the room, and they'll quickly do a pass on it. They'll quickly do a pass, and I loved it when you can get a second draft, another whack at it.
So talk about something that isn't talked about a lot. You break the story, in other words, like the A story is Ross's leather pants. Okay, that's the A story of the thing. What the whole reaction to it, what the thing, where it's just everything around. It's the premise where you squeeze out all the things around it. But talk about the thing that nobody talks about, the B story.
Well, on Friends, we had A, B, and C. We actually had three running through those episodes.
So everyone had a B and C too.
Yeah.
Now,
so pretty intense on that show.
Why did they decide to do it that way when most shows just had a B story?
I think, you had 6 characters in the ensemble, and you can kind of, this one always, an episode wouldn't always be like this, but you could always, pair up, and to do a story, you could pair up, the characters with each other. And of course, these stories would also mingle together, and we always love it when they dovetail in the end. You have one story affecting another story, which is very fun.
So you have around 22, this is fascinating too. You have around, back then it was 8 minutes of commercials. Now it's more.
Yeah.
But so you have 22 minutes. You have the cold open, which is 30 seconds to a minute, right?
Yeah.
You have the tag, which is 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so let's say that's a minute and a half. You have the credits, which are 30 seconds. Okay, so you have 20 minutes to do the A story and the B story and the C story. An average episode, if you had to actually take 100% pie of the script and highlight and break down, how many minutes is the A story dedicated to within the script? How many minutes is the B story and C story out of the 20 minutes?
Right. You can see how.
Actually, I shouldn't say this because it's more, because it's 21:30, because the cold open a lot of times has the story in it and the tag has the story in it. So I'm sorry. So out of the 21 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever it is, what's the percentage of A story, B story, C?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Right, you figure, what are you talking, like 8 minutes for an A story, and 6 and 6 for the rest?
So it's that much for the B and C story, 6 and 6.
It could be. Every episode is going to be different, of course. But to your point, an A story is going to be the most kind of substantive kind of story, and the other ones might be lighter, funnier. Just like not as heavy. Maybe it doesn't have the emotional arc.
God, so who breaks the B and C stories, or is that at the same time?
It was a machine. It was a machine there. So it was like, basically we'd had enough writers. So we'd had enough writers, maybe 14 or 15 writers, where you could break off separate rooms. So you'd have a room. Every evening after a run through, we'd go, this is what we need to do. We need, A story is in pretty good shape. So let's go with 5 writers in the A story room, and then but the B story we can have you 4 go off and do that one. So you'd split to make it efficient. You go off like it's like a factory. You go off and you guys fix this one, and then the C story. We need a whole new C story. So all right. So what are we going to do? We might even have to stop and talk about it as a whole group. Like, what do we want to do? The C story just did not work. We need to swap it in. And we kind of need an overall look at how would a new C story fit in with what we have that's working. So it was a very, very interesting,
really fascinating,
really kind of approach, because you have that night to do it.
And then of course, before you get to that night, so that you have the studio run through, you have the network run through. Sometimes they both are there together to save time.
That's right.
And then they sit down and give you notes on the script, what to change, whatever. And then you're incorporating that in the last 3 days of the show. But then the cast has to rehearse it as well. And there's a lot of stuff that you fix on the floor. Like, they'll do a scene and it won't hit with the audience there. And then the writers huddle and think, okay, what's a better line here? What can we do here? Before we go on to the next thing, how often did the cast, after a line didn't hit, come over and say, I think I got something that's better and I'd like to try it? Well, what is it? Let me just try it. I don't want to say it here. And do you let them do those things?
Well, absolutely. It was it was David Crane and Marta Kaufman. Yeah, we were very open to that. They were very open to, like, especially if you see, your jokes, not the writer's jokes, isn't quite landing, or maybe it's 80% there. And, like, Matthew Perry would often, hey, can I try something? Can I try something? Of course, he'd run it by, David and Marta, and they go for it. And, it's one of those things where it's like, it's so fun for the audience too, to see something new when you do another take. So you mix it up. And
I don't think August Wilson was changing things in his plays.
Definitely not.
Anyways, no, but it's interesting, the collaboration. Now, I want to ask you this because I want to be cognizant of the time, because I just want to cover one other thing before we come. Obviously, you've worked on many shows like the Fresh Prince and things like that, but talk about Wizards of Waverly Place, where you guys finally got the accolades that you deserved and the actual hardware that you felt you were deserving.
Oh, yes. We loved that show. We loved that show. We actually, there was a break in our career. It was 2004, 5, 6. We had like a year off. And this was when like reality shows were huge and game shows. And there were like the number of sitcoms on network just collapsed. And so Gigi and I, we had an opportunity to go.
That was when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
was on every night. Yeah, it was on every night. Yeah. So Gigi and I got an opportunity to work on a Disney Channel show. We're like, wow, really, Disney Channel? I mean, we had to get our heads around it, because we were, kids show, family show. But what we found out was that all the writing staff had all come from sitcom. They were all really great sitcom writers, and so it was a really great room for a Disney Channel show. They were benefiting from this situation in the market. And so, I mean, we just had a fantastic time when we treated, Wizards of Waverly Place just like any other sitcom we'd done before that. Make it, try to do something for the kids and also something for the parents too that might be in the room as well. So we really had a great time with that. It was also many episodes. We did 110 episodes, and so it was a good run. And we had and then we won an Emmy for it, which I got to say was really exciting. When it's so hard to make that all line up to actually win something like that. You realize it doesn't. Like when you don't win it, because there was a year we didn't win it. We're like, no, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything. But when you win it, then suddenly, oh yeah, it means a lot. It means a lot. I remember the day after winning that, I saw a manager on set, and he's like, Perry, congratulations. That's something that follows you forever. It's always there. No one can take it away from you. That was kind of hit me like, oh yeah, good idea, good point.
There was a fire in your house, and you can only take one thing out of your house. What would you take?
Oh my God! Well, the Woolsey fire went through our neighborhood, so this is perfect. This is real life. And I took the Emmy, and I took our cat and the kids in that order. No, it was I didn't take much, but grab that because I just didn't know. Can I replace it? Does the Academy do that? How long would that take? So it was traveling with us. It was in a hotel because we were out of our house for 5 months, and it was out of the house and in the hotel that whole time.
1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6.
6 degrees of separation.
6 degrees of separation. I'm going to mention some names. Tell me something that comes to mind. Just a short burst of anything, and just to kind of go through this. Jennifer Aniston,
America's sweetheart. Yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, she was amazing to write for. Actually, Selena Gomez from Wizards of Waverly Place was a big fan of Friends, and she studied Jennifer Aniston. She studied that show as a part of her acting process, and you can see a little Jennifer Aniston kind of nuances in Selena Gomez.
Ted Danson,
great guy. Mensch for sure. Loved working with him on Becker, and very different than his character in that show, who was a curmudgeonly doctor.
David Schwimmer,
gotta love him. Yeah, gotta love a hero for the nerds everywhere. I crack up when I think about the leather pants. He went to Northwestern, same year as me.
Courtney Cox,
lovely person. Yeah, she's She was amazing. Just another amazing. The whole cast was just kind of lightning in a bottle. Very lucky to get them all together. She was originally the star of Friends, the way it was developed, and then it became an ensemble.
Raven Simone.
Yeah. So, I worked with her when she was on Hanging with Mr. Cooper as a little kid, and then I worked on a show for Disney called Raven's Home when she was now the mom. And yeah, she is so funny, so talented.
Will Smith.
Oh my God, Will Smith. So yeah, I was a writer's assistant on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I was just, here's this guy, this super talented rapper who just can do it all. Hilarious in that show. Just a natural. And then just to see how what he's done over the course of these decades, for the most part, how wonderfully he's done. And how he can produce, direct, write, sing, dance.
Lisa Kudrow.
She is one of these people who's a really smart person that can play kind of like a dumb person.
My favorite show is that hybrid show that she did that got canceled, that came back. I'm going blank on what it was.
Not The Comeback.
The Comeback.
The Comeback? Yeah. Me too.
Oh, just incredible. Christine Baranski.
Yes, Christine Baranski was great. Worked with her on Welcome to New York, and talk about a career. Someone who just is
who
nonstop.
named the show Welcome to New York?
No.
The show was originally called something else, and Les Moonves asked Phil Rosenthal, the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, what he thinks the name of the show should be. He says, Welcome to New York.
Perfect. I mean, that's what you want. You want, someone to hear the name of the show and tell you exactly what it's all about.
Lastly, Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry, wow. Yeah. So tragic. So, wonderful person, extremely talented person. Yeah, just still kind of shocked about what happened.
Your proudest moment in show business?
I would say persisting, being able to stay in it. You got to be around, right, for the opportunity. So how do you do that? I think Gigi and I it's always been really important to us. Like, how do we stay in the game? And a lot of it, started off with driving used cars. How can we save money? How can we live below your means? That kind of thing. And here we are. We're still here, still pitching. And I'm proud. I'm proud about the longevity.
Awesome. Your biggest disappointment in show business and how you used it to fuel yourself to the next level.
Wow. I would say, we did a show for Netflix called Haters Back Off, and I really thought that show was gonna take off. I mean, I thought it was about a YouTube star. It was kind of the origin story of a YouTube star. It was kind of this fictionalized world. And I thought because she was Colleen Ballinger, she was huge on YouTube, and I thought that was going to carry over to this TV show, and it did not. It did not. It did not. So we did 2 seasons of that, and I really was disappointed it didn't get a third.
Last question. What advice would you give to the young person who is growing up in a small town and wants to be a writer, but probably doesn't know the first thing about getting there and how to navigate through this crazy fucked up business and have the kind of incredible career that you and your partner have had?
I think getting that job as a writer's assistant is a great way in. I mean, Gigi and I both, that's the way we both did it. And it just gives you that access. Gigi and I had, 2 great mentors, Ephraim Seeger early on and Russ Woody, that we met them from being a writer's assistant and writer's assistants. And they helped us. They gave us feedback on scripts and they supported us. And, Ephraim gave us our first pitch on we did a freelance script before we got on staff on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. So just those first breaks, and how do you get those first breaks? And I feel like I am concerned that that system is a little bit in shambles right now. That there isn't that kind of like mentorship. There isn't that sort of world where there are large writing staffs. They're now smaller. There's now they don't hire as many writers assistants. You know, they do fewer episodes. It's gotten a little more challenging, which is hard to imagine because it's always been hard. But I hope that it reverts kind of back to the way it was. You know, starts to expand. I feel like it's once again kind of is really contracted, and it's, you know, being affected by the influence of, you know, streaming and technology, and it's adapting. We're trying to adapt to where do we go from here. I mean, in terms of breaking in as a writer's assistant, you're probably it's one of these situations where the showrunners want to hire a writer's assistant who has the experience. It's one of those, you know, catch-22s. How do you get the job without having been a writer's assistant? So that's a very difficult situation. I was actually a PA that I was a terrible typist. So how's a guy like me going to get a writer's assistant job? And basically, I got very fortunate that the show I was on, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, they didn't have the writers in the writer's room. They would hand the pages out. So I could cover up my poor typing ability. But I think that gave me the chance to get up to speed. And once, even though I wasn't in the room on that first job, I was able to say, I've been a writer's assistant, and then you can get the next job as a writer's assistant on another show. But yeah, it's a tricky thing to get. You need someone to take a chance on you. You need someone to take a chance on you and go, yeah, I think Gigi can do this, or I think Perry can do this, or whoever it is can. You need someone who's got to like take a flyer and go, oh, okay, we've got one experienced writer's assistant, and now we need a second one, and this person, we think that they can get it, they can do it. So that's kind of the lay of the land.
Perry Rein, thank you so much,
Barry,
man.
Thank you.
What an honor.
It was so fun.
A long time.
Yeah, it sure has been. Crazy.
Congratulations on all your success and continued success.
Thank you so much.
All right, pal. Thank you.